in the sun until you see the light. Oh, we will praise, alright. Gonna get away, get away. Between the velvet lies, there's a truth that's hard as steel, yeah. I'll say the bears will never die. That's a never-ending will say, holy diver, you're the star of the masquerade. No need to look so brave. Jump! I jumped that trigger. He's hot, but you know he's mean. Some like to never be seen.
How are we doing? A nice Saturday crowd here. You got that on loop or something? Got that applause on loop? How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for turning out on short notice. What the deal is, Mrs. D is out at an all-day board game convention, local, and I was just going through, probably in preparation of a video, I was going through the Daggerheart playtest stuff, and then I said, you know what? Why not do a little bit of this live? I can still make a video of it later, but why not share it with my homies, my peeps? Look at this. We got Stephen Forshaw's here. How you doing, Stephen? J. Mike, Uriah, Grant Edwards, Dungeon Dumbo, Terranium, Gringog, Curtis H., Grognard 6 Actual, Boss Bully Boy. I like that name. Kobanizer, the man, the legend. Warplane, Scott's Mine, Jeffrem Denkar. How you doing, my friend? All you channel members, thank you so much. Bullet Catcher. Yeah, Daggerheart, more like a dagger depression with a side of pain nails. There you go. Let's see. Torres here. Matthew Sentence. How you doing, boys? James Bacon. all of you fine people and all of you lurkers who are just a little bit too shy to come out and say hi. I'll share, before we get into that, I'll share a quick little thing from, I thought this was funny last night. So the group, as you know, most of you know, Friday night is our game night. And there we go. Look at that. They're doing a little bit of a hex crawl. A little bit of a hex crawl on the island of Tarova Tiamlaten, which is in the very, very far north. This is a frozen, wasteland most months out of the year. Now they're going up in the spring. But yeah, they have made their way up that river. And last night they ran into a halfling who was trying to escape from a group of elves. The elves in Birthright, they don't like humans much. And these particular elves, they not only don't like humans, they actually actively hunt them, as well as halflings who lead tours into their homeland, which this halfling did. So this halfling opened up a gate, or found a shadow gate, and got through to this island from this elven realm. And he was running from them. So he met up with the group, and they're like, oh, okay. So it was kind of the standard, like, rescue the prisoner sort of. And I didn't have any grand plans. If you're being a DM, you shouldn't have, big grand plans. But I was like, well, look, if this guy survives, he could help them here. He could do this. He could do that. So anyway, so they're helping him escape from the elves. They tussle a little bit with the elves. They start heading up towards that mountainous area where the river forks up in the north there. And they run into a remoras, which is a giant, like, ice worm. And, the halfling's with them, and just the way the combat worked out, when there's like an equal opportunity of targets, I will just simply roll a dice and just, there's 4 of you, I'll roll a die 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to show there's no hard feelings. Now, sometimes if somebody's doing a lot of damage, that's who the creature will strike. But in this case, the poor halfling, I rolled on him, and I'm like, uh-oh. And sure enough, the remoras, it ate the halfling, and the group was they were sad at first, and and then they were much amused that this halfling that they met, who just brought chaos on them. These elves were like using him as like a pincushion. The group. So this halfling, it's like, we hardly knew you, Morris, and now Morris is in the belly of a Remoras. For a minute, they contemplated, boy, should we go in there and try to get him out? And they're like, that would be kind of risky. Let's go back and see if our tents are okay. Always love situations like that. That kind of happen organically. They actually had they really did have a nice little belly laugh about this halfling who, like I said, we hardly knew ye. Yeah, Robe Manslayer. Robbie to his friend, did nothing wrong. Yeah, I had Robe as a part of my early Birthright campaign. I think he may have been slain, oddly enough. Amazing intro. Thank you very much. Streaming on Saturday. Yeah, atypical. As you guys know, I don't like overexposure, but the stars, let's just say the stars were kind of aligned today. I was doing something that I thought would make good content. I was a little bit bored, and Mrs. D is away, so I don't have to worry about her clog dancing upstairs, as Crazy Mouse says. So yeah, so it's kind of the perfect storm here. What's the funniest player death you've had? Oh boy, Terranium. Not me personally, because I don't play very often, but one of Captain Stern's, he made this monk, put a lot of work into him, and he died like almost immediately. Like, it was just one of those things, bad rolls. So it happened so early in the session too. He's like, well, what should I do? And everybody's like, just make another one, So along comes this monk's twin brother. Hail, you guys look like a trustworthy lot. Oh, my brother's dead. That's okay. I'll join up next to him. So yeah, we had We had some belly laughs over that as well. Let's see. Okay, so I think we have 50 here, so I think we can probably start up. All right, so first off, this is just the site. Okay, as we all know, Daggerheart, this is the D&D killer. I'm not so sure about that, but it will have a very large fan base. You gotta always remember that. It's gonna have a very large fan base. So this game could be hot shit, and it will do well. Kind of like Matt Colville. I'm not saying the Matt Colville game is going to be hot shit. It looks underwhelming, let's just say. But, this, I don't know. This could be a mess based on what I'm seeing. But there are some gimmicks in here that I think like the critters would like. So, we shall see. But anyway, here's the splash page. They just released the open, playtest for this. And I'm not sure if they're going to do a fun, like a Kickstarter. Boy, I hope they don't do a Kickstarter for this. Good Lord, these people are swimming in money. Get my phone here so I can read your comments while I'm going through this. Yeah, hot shit. I figure it'll just be shit. Well, either or. All right, so their big gimmick here is succeed or fail with hope or fear. That's their hook. We'll see what it is, and I will, if you hang around long enough, I will give you, if any of you, and I sincerely doubt this, if you wanted to implement this into D&D, their little system. I don't want to say it's easily done, but it can be done. So why you would want to do that, I don't know, but who knows? Don't ever be afraid to try something new. I'm not saying this is it, but tell us what you really think. Well, I'm telling you what I really think. Matt Mercer and company. Spencer Stark. Boy, look at those chiclets. Is he British? Yikes. Mix in a dentist or some dental floss there, Spencer. Oof. Okay. Let's get right to it, shall we? Yeah, the painted nails. Yeah. Yeah. What am I doing? Did I just do this again? Double D's boomering it up. Come on, Double D. You're better than this. You're a pro. All right, so this is the playtest here. Will I be able to see my weenus? I like that name, weenus. That'll get you a giggle from me. All right, so welcome to Daggerheart. All right, so this, you have to keep in mind, boy, 377 pages. Wow. I'm not sure they have 377 pages of actual content. There's going to be a lot of filler in this book. Now, obviously, this is just the playtest, but don't ever use that, by the way, as a... don't let them say, like, well, it's just a playtest. A playtest is pretty much what they want to put out there as a mostly final product. And they're just looking to tweak around the edges. So, they may remove a thing or two here or there, but the main gist of this is going to be what you see here. So this is essentially the game. I mean, all right. What kind of an RPG is Daggerheart? What I'll do is I'll do a couple pages, then I'll roll back and look at the chat. Obviously, I don't have Crazy Mouse here. Hi, Chris G. How you doing? Happy Saturday. Yep. I'll roll back and kind of cruise through the comments a little bit and see what you guys are having to say. But like I said, I don't have anybody doing that for me right now. So Daggerheart is, excuse me, heroic, narrative-focused experience. Heroic. So we see that a lot nowadays. Like the Matt Colville game is heroic focused. I think a lot of this heroic focus stuff means the deck is stacked against the DM sort of. It is in favor of the players quite a bit. And maybe that's what a lot of people want. I would prefer myself a more even-handed game. I'm not sure about you guys. I suspect you guys might agree with me. Edgelord, member for 3 months at the Defender level. Thank you so much, Edgelord. Mucho gracias, amigo. So yeah, heroic. So this is 2 heroic focus games. And I think these will take a little bit out of D&D, out of Wizards of the Coast, but I don't know. It seems like Daggerheart and the Matt Colville game are just kind of fighting over the same ground to me. It's a focus game with combat as a prominent aspect of play. But then you'd think they'd have a robust combat system. It's a little spotty, fellas. It's a little spotty. Facilitating, emotionally engaging, player-driven campaigns. Well, they're telling you there. I mean, obviously. But if you think about it, every game should be player-driven because the players should be the ones asking the DM, or telling the DM, we are going here, we are doing this. Punctuated by exciting battles and harrowing challenges. Okay. Now, it takes a rules-light approach, and I want you to put a pin in this. We'll see. We'll see, because there's a couple times in here I was scratching my head like, boy, I don't know. It's not quite rules-light. Encouraging players and GMs to focus on the story they're telling rather than the complexity of the mechanics. A free-flowing approach to combat. That is true. And it doesn't rely on grid-based movement for the maps and minis. That's nothing wrong with that. This is all purposeful in creating a game that utilizes the kind of terrain and map building that miniature-based games are known for, while making Daggerheart streamlined, approachable, and focused on delivering a great narrative experience. Okay. They say asymmetrical. Yeah, I guess a little bit. The GM makes moves without rolling for most actions, but rolls a die 20 when making attacks for adversaries. And then they list they call them the touchstones here. TTRPGs. 13th Age. Apocalypse Keys. I've never heard of that one. Apocalypse World. All right, so full disclosure, I'm not a fan of Powered by the Apocalypse in most cases. I think for like a convention game, it's fine. But for like a house campaign, I don't think it's a very good. And it's also become a crutch for lazy designers who want to put a lot of bullshit, like real world bullshit, into their games. Blades in the Dark, I think that's pretty similar too. I don't know. A lot of people say good things about Blades in the Dark. I don't know. I don't care about it. So, good Lord, look at this. I don't know if it's right that you put all of this stuff as your kind of I don't know, your inspiration, as it were, because it kind of makes it seem like you're throwing the kitchen sink in here. Does it not, chat? Looks like you're just kind of throwing everything in here. And then, of course, the books, which is, kind of vanilla. Boy, they're really stretching it here. Song of Ice and Fire, Earthsea, Wheel of Time, and Lord of the Rings. Woo! Don't go too far off the beaten path, Spencer. I like how they list their own TV show as a inspiration. Had to get that plug in there. Okay, so Genesis was a major inspiration for the 2-axis results of the duality dice. Now, a lot of people, I will say this about me, I'm not the best DM. I'm a pretty good DM at times. At least I'm competent. And I have a lot of experience running a lot of games. Like, we will do a stretch of D&D and then we will stop, and, sometimes I'll get spelled, but then sometimes I will run little like quick hitters and that. And back in the 2015, 2016, I did a Star Wars Genesis little mini campaign, and it's not a bad system. It is okay, but those dice, while they encourage role playing, they can wear you out a little bit because you are trying to find little like pros and cons for every single gosh darn roll. And after a while, I just remember saying like, okay, guys, It's been so long since I played now, I can't even remember the terminology, but, you know, if there's a hitch, you know, like a hook, you know, when you roll, you know, something, you know, odd happens. It's a lot of times by the end we were just going like, look, you just succeed, let's move on. And I know they've built this hope and fear mechanic into the system, as it were, but I think it could still sort of just kind of burn players and DMs out just a little bit. Yeah, so I think I told you, yeah, Blade, Apocalypse World helps shape the narrative flow of the game. I don't like those. D&D 4th edition, they took a little inspiration there. It's kind of the commercial aspect too. And the sample session 0 structure. Session zeros are, as long as they're just there for like, I don't know, just, hey, let's roll our characters up. Let's talk a little bit about the game and not about, you know, this is what the no-go zones and all that stuff. Let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, Terranium, FFG, Star Wars, and Genesis are my absolute favorite RPGs. I do completely understand why someone would rather use normal dice as the narrative. It definitely does require a different approach. And I'm not saying we had a good time with it. We did. But it got, after a while, it just kind of got like really heavy. You know, it seemed like you always had to be quote unquote on. And look, there's some sessions where it's, you know, the pace is a little slower and it's like, I don't need to think of something quirky or weird that happens all the time. Hey, look who is here. Amigo. Semper Fi, amigo. How you doing, Shark? Ooh, Ironcaster. Haven't seen you in a little while. How you doing, buddy? FFGs, yeah. Yeah, Ironcaster, I do too. I have most of those books. I kind of wish, I think they did some like prequel era ones. I don't know what you guys think. Whatever you think about the Star Wars movies, the prequel era to me is the best for role playing. What's the conclusion? It just started, Pundit. I'm just kind of doing a flip through. We'll go through it. You guys can throw in if you want. I guess cutting to the chase, the conclusion is it's probably not for me, probably not for you, probably not for most of the people here. But we will see. Are you with me or against me? Yeah, I did. You know what? I did. Most of us are live. Cal, how you doing? Yeah, say what you will about the prequel movies. That era is really good for role playing, and if you haven't done it, you should, because there's just so many battlefields, so many different planets. And I know it's like the whole thing is the war, but there's so many little sub wars and, you know, neutral planets and stuff like that. Whereas it just kind of gets old to me, like the whole, you know, Rebel Alliance versus the big bad, you know, Empire, or, you know, in the sequels, you know, the Empire stand-in, you know, the successor state. I don't know, it just kind of has a sameness to me. So I always actually liked the prequel area when it came to role-playing games. Let us continue. Daggerheart, you'll all take turns speaking at the table. Really? Oh my God. That's got to be a unique mechanic, right? I mean, nobody ever took turns speaking at a role-playing table. We just kind of all talk over each other at Casa de Double D, describing what your characters do, the consequences of those actions, and how the narrative evolves. Okay, well, look, maybe this is just for new players coming in. You do always kind of have to have a section like that, because there's always new people coming in. 100 people in the chat right now. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner. Hit the like button if you could, guys. Help me out a little. The dice of players. Okay, your duality dice. This is the hook. They're two 12-sided dice referred to as die 12s. They're of different colors. One representing hope, the other representing fear. These embody the fate of the world and its effect on your success. So you roll these, you know, to attack, to do essentially what are going to be, you know, your ability or skill checks, and you'll add them together, plus any modifiers. And then what you do is, if your hope die was higher, you note that, and then you take like a hope coin. There's a lot of bookkeeping in this game. There's going to be a lot of like transactional things for both the players and the DM. Mercurius gifted one D&D Diversity and Dragons membership. Thank you so much, Mercurius. You are very kind and an official member of the Inner Circle. Hope you're enjoying it in here. Yeah, so that's the mechanic. Roll 2 die 12, and you based on the numbers you succeed, but you could also succeed with hope or fear. I'm not now. What, despite what you might think, I'm open to new things, and maybe there is something there. Okay, but we'll see, and we'll see what you guys think. It is certainly a different mechanic. I don't know. We'll see if it works. Collaborative storytelling effort between everyone at the table. Okay. There's some boilerplate stuff here. Push your character. Some contradictory stuff too. Push your character's story forward and always strive to make interesting choices, but then look for opportunities to put other characters in the spotlight. Okay, which is it? Are you a spotlight hog? Or do you step back and let others take it? It's a collaborative game, perhaps more so than other games you're used to, and it reaches its greatest potential when every player, PC and GM, is working together. So they consider in this game the GM is a player. Homie, don't play that. I don't play that. Now, maybe it's just in their thinking kind of a shallow distinction, but I don't know. The GM is not a player. It's not. And they have the realms that you're going to be in. Okay, so this is the mortal realm. That's the physical world. The hallows above, which is where the gods are. The circles below. That's where the devils and such are. Magic is powerful and incredibly dangerous. Woo, breaking new ground here. Flavoring your game. Flavor your magic in a way that complements your character and their style. But unless the table agrees, that flavor shouldn't offer any mechanical effect. Well, then why do? I don't know. And they give this example here, which is kind of weird. You might say that your rogue's magic. All right, so my first thing is, why does a rogue have magic? Unless they're reading a scroll or something. It might take the form of gadgets and inventions, but it's still magic and subject to the game's rules about magic. Well, then it's just dumb. It's either mechanical or it's magical in my book. I don't know. Not real sure about this. Maybe you're just putting window dressing on it, but they choose a weird example there. If you're playing the game master, you'll be playing the world as a whole. The GM will also ask questions of the players that drive forward the narrative. Wrong. That is exactly the opposite of what it should be. The players ask questions of the DM that drive forward the narrative. Welcome to Bizarro World. Powered by Apocalypse. Close to powered by the whole, but shittier. Darkseid hates you after all. Hey, a real Vector. How you doing, Steel Mongoose? Pundit's gonna blow an aneurysm. Yeah, I don't understand how you could get something so fundamentally wrong. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. GM is a player communism. Yeah, they slide in something else later on where they kind of betray their let's just say their leanings, shall we? Character tokens. As you play the game, you'll use these to help track things. When you roll the dice, you'll add tokens to help you easily count your modifiers on the roll. Add one token to the action tracker. All right, so you got to have a lot of these. Essentially, I think they're going to be like bingo chips. And I guarantee you these will soon be for sale. You will get your, the critters will be lining up for, artistic character tokens that, the Critical Role is going to put out. Game cards. So along with the rule book, you'll also need the cards that come with the core set. Okay, so at least they're giving it to you with it, but still, that's probably jacking up the cost. Ancestry, Community, Foundation, and Domain cards, as well as an action tracker. So they're going to give you and then probably, sell you at some point more cards, which I understand why they're doing. People love kind of that shiny bling. But they are trying to kind of like the Genesis Star Wars game, where to really play the game, you really did need the dice, and you needed, like, each person sort of needed their own. Like, I have a bowl full of those dice, so good on FFG for getting probably $100 in dice out of me. It was fine. I didn't mind paying it, of course, but they ain't stupid. They're gonna sell all this shit to all the critters, and the critters will eat it up. And Critical Role would be fools not to, right? Map and miniature should never limit your imagination. I agree. But, there's nothing there. You know what, though? There's nothing wrong with keeping your combats a little tactical either. Either way, to me, is fine. Either way is fine. It's a game for all. Oh, here we go. Here we go. You got. Are you guys ready? Because here it comes. Here comes the bullshit. Here comes the bullshit. A table for all. Daggerheart is a game for all ages, races, ethnicities, genders, sexual orientations, religions, and identities. You mean just like every other role-playing game that's pretty much ever been made, other than a handful of ones which were, just explicitly made, not to be for everyone? Everyone is empowered, respected, and safe. It's important to remember that what might just be an imaginary scenario for you could bring up real-life topic that's very sensitive or uncomfortable to somebody else. So then I always think this is kind of funny, and this little this little thing. So it's one thing to have it come up in a game, and they'd be triggered. So they want you to bring it up before the game, and I guess get them triggered before it even starts, huh? So I guess these people are triggered either way, probably. Well, I don't want you to touch on, having whatever. My creepy uncle, feeling me up or something. That's going to really trigger me. Oh, wait, I'm here telling you that, my creepy uncle feeling me up is triggering. So they're triggered either way. But I don't think that matters. Oh, $2. Hold on 1 second. Looky who's here. Bang, bang. Giving you the bang, bang salute. Finally, a game for Slavs. Yes. Thank you, James. Good to see you, buddy. All right, so yeah, and then they're buying full tilt into this bullshit. Full tilt. It's not just like I give Dragonbane Free League. I give them a little shit for kind of mentioning safety tools. But they sometimes just mention it, and then basically it's just boilerplate, like talk it over if something's going to be a problem, which I don't even think you should do that, but whatever. But these guys are 100% invested. You should discuss the tones and goals for the game, and here's the lunacy on full display. Talking about lines, Tracy lines spiders. That means that not only will the players never encounter spiders effectively do not exist in this world. There are no cobwebs or 8-legged monsters. So let that sink in. One crazy person at your table who got scared of a spider when they were 4 years old means that you can't have something like Shelob in your game anymore. Welcome to the new world. Veils are topics that players don't want to feature in the game but can still exist in the world. Tracy veils spiders. That means spiders can exist in the world, but they will not be a feature of the game. So what does that even mean? I mean, the DM is just going to... Look, he's just going to... The minute she brings up spiders, the DM is just going to be like, well, I'm just going to... There's no spiders anywhere, even if it's like, quote-unquote, veiled. Why would you? It's just going to cause problems because it's like, oh, is this going over the veil or the line or, this or that? Threxus, $5. Thank you. They condone the genocide of spiders. Yes, they do. It's like that. You guys remember that Star Trek: The Next Generation episode with the old guy and the woman on the planet, and the whole planet was destroyed around them except for them, and they couldn't figure out why, and then finally they figured out that the old man was like more powerful than even like the Q or something like that, and he wished an entire civilization out of existence. Yeah, I always liked that episode. I think that old guy, he played Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis in 8 Men Out, if I'm not mistaken, too. Did a good job. Anyway, let us continue. Though the GM is keeping the list and designing the encounters, they should also announce their own lines and veils. This is insanity. This is lunacy. I mean, the DM is essentially saying, "Don't worry, guys. You won't encounter this because I guess I'll trigger myself. This will help set the culture of a safe table. Take any stigma off players having topics they wish to avoid, and let other players know what they should not include in their roleplay." It's important to remember that the GM is also a player. Here it is again. As Pundit said, communism deserves the same care. Yep. Everyone's equal. It's important to remember that lines and veils are a living document. The list can be updated. Tracy initially veiled spiders, but just realized in the middle of this session that she would feel more comfortable if they were lined. The GM's giant spider is making her very uncomfortable. She flags her change to lining spiders, and the GM simply switches their giant spider out for a giant beetle and continues play. I mean, why not switch it out for, Liberace? It would make the same amount of sense, wouldn't it? Why do they do this? I mean, I know why they do it, but yeah, gosh. It's just bonkers. X card. We all know about the X card, the tool that allows any player to remove content from the game. It is utter narcissism. To utilize the X card, a player only needs to tap the paper. I like the thought of just some narcissistic turd just, imperiously just like tapping, at the end of the table. Not even bother to like throw it up, just tapping it and getting a concerned look on their face, but also a smug look on their face, which I think probably also happens whenever these are used. Or holds up crossed arms or so. I love that. Isn't that supposed to be like I'm choking? Is that supposed to be I'm choking, the I'm choking sign, the crossed arms? And note the moment of play they wish to rewind. It can be helpful to note the detail they're flagging for removal, but this is not a requirement. So you're not even going to ask them. These guys are just editors. They're just editors. Yeah, Tarantum, crossed arms is a sign of emergency. I thought so. It's used to stop shows and events. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it's like for actual emergencies, like someone is going to die or someone is in grave danger, not someone's feelings are being hurt, and they really need years of exposure therapy or something like that. Using the X card is not an offense. Yes, it is. And having the X card used during your moment of improv does not inherently mean that you made a grievous mistake in play. Oh, yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does. Encouraging the use of the X card in your game is often just as important as the X card itself. Yeah, they're evangelists. You got to give them that. Open door policy. Do you even need to write this, Spencer? Yes, everyone's welcome. You said that 2 fucking times earlier. So that's the end of part 1. Oh, got another mouse dropping from here. I'll give you the even though he's not here, I'll give you the salute. The Crazy Mouse salute Crossed arms is obfuscate. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Thank you, James. Yeah. Yeah, Curtis H. Yeah, turn the tables on him, right? Only matters from the experience will be somehow in us. The critters who bother to try to play it will be disappointed and may give up on RPGs, mistaking Daggerheart for one. Yeah. Tora. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, injury in pro wrestling. Yeah, that's right. That's probably where in the back of my mind I was thinking. Yeah. So it furthers CR. Yeah, maybe I was still thinking of when Psycho Sid or Sid Vicious broke his leg in the ring. Yikes. Although they didn't really need to signal that, did they? That was pretty obvious. Yeah. DEI, my Daggerheart. Yeah. My sister is definitely afraid of midgets, so she could line halflings and dwarves. Yeah. Well, that would be something. I tell you, if a game was at a convention, I would be tempted to do this and just fuck with a DM who put this kind of thing in their game. See how far they'd actually go. It was so hard not to refer to Morris the halfling in last night's game as a midget. I'm like, well, he looks like a little person. He's only 3'5", but his features are fully formed. They're looking at me like, all right, Double D, what's going on? Is he a midget or what? See what Shark has to say. All this welcoming BS is simply aimed at feminists, freaks, and communists. If you're those, you are welcome. If you're normal, well, the hobby isn't for you anyway. Yep. Yes, indeed, amigo. All right. So they're done lecturing to you, and you know the lecturing worked so well for Candela Obscura, did it not? It worked out so well for that game. Why not do it in your flagship game? So they encourage have a session 0, tone and feels they're excited about. I think their session 0, it goes beyond like, hey, let's do our characters and let's just BS a little bit about where we're going to start things. It's more like, oh, don't do this. Let's compare our lines and veils. All right, so this is a class-based game. Class features. You don't have to write this down. It's already provided at the bottom and left of that class's character sheet. Actually, I'm fine with that. I don't mind character sheets that provide information, handy information you don't have to keep going back to the book for. So that's fine with me. All right, so these are the classes. And I just highlighted the ones, that you wouldn't, normally think. The Guardian, Stalwart or Vengeance, Class Foundation, a Seraph, Winged Sentinel or Divine Wielder. Then oh boy, here we go. Choose your heritage, choose your ancestry. This is a furry heaven. Nicely stated, Double D. If you couldn't hear me, you can read it right there like this. A clank, a daemon. We'll see these a little bit in more detail just a little bit later on here, but God, look at all the races they have. It's like it's a fucking zoo. I mean, you would smell this adventuring party coming a mile away. Oh, we got a gorilla, a frog, a fucking fawn, which is goat boy, a fungrel, which is a mushroom. But these guys walk into a bar, the first thing the bartender is going to say is out, out, get out. Choose your community. So they have these, I guess this is kind of your background. A Slyborn. It's just so dumb. It just looks so dumb. Although they sneak in a little communism there later on too. Assign your character traits, So for as advanced, or as outside the box as this game pretends to be. I mean, I think we all recognize these, do we not? I mean, dexterity, strength, I don't know, finesse. Maybe agility and finesse are kind of together. I guess maybe it looks like they don't have constitution. Instinct is kind of wisdom, presence is charisma, knowledge is intelligence. So pretty standard in that regard. Of course, there's trait modifiers here. Again, very boilerplate, very boilerplate. So you have an evasion score here, which is essentially your armor class. When an enemy makes an attack against your character, the GM rolls against your evasion score to see if they're successful. And as you can probably guess later on, if you have armor on, armor is soak. Armor is soak. Hit points and stress. Characters' hit points are an abstract reflection of your physical fortitude and the ability to take hits, both from blade and from magic. Stress reflects your ability to withstand the pressures of dangerous situations, including mental and emotional strain. Like somebody misgendered you or something like that, I'm sure that's worth a point of stress. As well as the physical discomfort that comes from avoiding the dire blows of battle. Now, on the face of it, this is kind of similar to the old vitality and wound point system from the old Wizards of the Coast Star Wars game that a lot of people tried to implement in like D&D and that. And honestly, I will say this. I'm not saying this implementation of it is bad, but I kind of always liked the old vitality point and wound point system. I really did. Because it kind of makes hit points a little less abstract. And, mechanically, it was kind of sound without being too overbearing. I think if you got a critical hit or all your vitality points were used up, it would go straight to wound points. So you'd have a ton of vitality points and then just a couple of wound points. Once your wound points go down, then you're seriously hurt. So I didn't mind that. I'm not sure I like this implementation because I don't think it's a very good implementation of that sort of thing. But we'll see. All right, so your class has a damage threshold indicating how much damage you can endure before marking a hit point. So you're already kind of getting the sense that this isn't like a real rules light game. There's a little bit of crunch here. And here they talk about, the crux to the game, hope and fear. Hope is a currency that represents the way fate can turn in your character's favor during the game. So essentially, every time you roll those two dice together, the 2 die 12, and the lighter side dice or the hope dice, whatever you designate it as, comes up higher, you get like a hope point. So you'll either get hope or you'll generate fear for the DM every roll. So this is going to be a constant, there better be a big bowl of like chips, not potato chips, like bingo chips in the middle. Because, you're going to be using and gaining these hope points all the time. It looks, I don't know, but maybe that's not bad, not good. Maybe that's just kind of neutral. I don't know. It's just kind of like the currency of the game. And then you can use that hope to power certain things later on. I think there's like 3 things you can power it with. Here it says you can use your hope to help allies, apply your life experience to skill rolls, and empower your spells and abilities. And then when you roll with fear, you don't do anything, but I think the DM just records it in their notes. So a lot of note keeping for the DM. Like you, as a DM, you're instead of just worried about the scene and all that. Like, oh wait, you roll that with fear. Okay, well, let me mark it down. Oh wait, did I mark that one down? I could see DMs just kind of fudging things after a while because they lose track of all the fear they've spent or gained. Yeah, as I said earlier, choose your armor. Armor is soak, so it sort of just soaks the damage coming in. But the damage doesn't go 1 for 1. There's like a secondary chart, as you'll see. Let's cut down here. In general, your equipment is available for you to use during your adventures in any way that fits your shared story. What an odd thing to say. That's very odd phrasing. Do you guys not think? What else would you do with equipment? Use it in a way that somebody else thinks is good? I don't understand. It's very odd. Spencer, if you're listening, you can nix that. That is a bit superfluous. The decisions you make about your background are, as you can imagine, create your background. Oh boy, these guys are whole hog into backgrounds. And I believe kind of, with, folks like Pundit, and I'm sure a lot of the rest of you guys, let me go back to the chat here for a sec, that, backgrounds, go easy on them. Paragraph or two, maybe. I come from this village, my parents are alive. I have this person out in the world, and, when I was young, some mean old lady, hit me over the head with a stick. There you go. About 4 sentences, 5 sentences. That's good. That's good. You don't have to be a complete blank slate. In fact, that being a complete blank slate might be just as odd as having nothing. But good Lord, you start getting longer than either a big paragraph or 2 small ones. I don't know. You're really, really, really asking for it. That's like a drama. That's a drama alert there. If someone shows up with like just pages and pages of background, my spidey sense would be tingling. The decisions you make are purely narrative, but they deeply impact the kind of character you're playing and the story the GM might prepare for your adventures. No, you should kind of be, in that respect, you should sort of be kind of an open book for what adventures you're going on. Bring in your background ever so often. If the DM needs an NPC or something, like, oh, hey, I see we're passing by my village. I think in my background, my parents are still alive. They're here. I'm gonna bop in and see how mom and dad are doing. And then maybe the DM's like, oh, cool. Maybe somebody's, I don't know, blackmailing mom and dad or, menacing them or something. Nothing wrong with that. Little off the cuff adventures like that are fine. Over the course of character creation, feel free to adjust some mechanical choices you made in earlier steps. Yeah, why not? There are no rules, right? You don't like something you've done, just change it, allowing them to better reflect this background. All right, so not only do you have background, it kind of gets ponderous here a little. You start with 2 experiences at character creation. Okay, one with a +2 and one with a +1. Again, these are just modifiers to that 2d12 roll. So basically what these are, it's like, so they give you an example here. There's no set list. You just kind of choose a word or a phrase, like, and they do say like it can't be talented and focused. Although in this kind of game, I'm not sure why not. But you can say like, oh, I'm a swashbuckler or magical studies, something like that. And anything. I love this too here. Assassin is like you might consider acrobatics or assassin. Well, assassin implies, years of study. I mean, and experience, which you're supposed to have gotten in game. You can't just say, I'm an assassin, and I'm an assassin, bing bong. Now I get a +2 to every roll that, where I wield a dagger, and I'm coming at somebody from behind. I tell you what, if you're just worried about this game from an easily exploitable angle, and not just about all the other stuff that's probably wrong with it, there you go. These people just putting in this stuff like assassin. Ooh, I'm a swordsmith. I'm a workaholic. Boom. +2 to every attack roll. You think DMs these days are going to challenge that? No chance. No chance, bucko. Yep. So yeah, you assign +2 to one and +1 to the other. Great. All right. So using experiences, like, so, boy, they really hit you over the head with this. Oh wait, here you go. Yep. Anytime you make an action roll, if you feel like an experience could help you succeed, you spend a hope. I guess that is one thing. You do have to spend a hope to add that +2 or +1, but I think you're going to be getting these hope things all the time. These little hope chips. So to me, it's almost a guarantee you're always going to be getting a +2. You know, a +2 modifier is nothing to sneeze at. If it fits the story, you can apply more than one experience modifier to a roll. There you go. Spending hope for each. And I think that's going to be overpowered. It's already overpowered a little, but if you can do both, I'm an assassin. I'm a badass too. Well, gee, does this situation apply? Well, yeah, I'm in combat. You know, I'm stabbing someone. That's assassin. Hey, I'm acting like a badass. There you go. Then now you got a +3. Choose your domain cards. Each domain has a domain deck. Deck of cards that contains a set of abilities and spells with a central theme or focus. So these are kind of like those 4E power cards. You know, and I think they sold those, if I'm not mistaken. I know you could download them, but I think you could also buy them. And again, look, anything they can sell to these morons, they're going to do. And I don't disagree with that at all. Like if they said, "Hey, Double D, come work for Critical Role, $200,000 a year," we're not going to. We're just going to ignore everything else you say. Just run the business aspect. I'd be like, fine, I'll do it. And then I would find every way to exploit these morons. They're their fans. Just sell them everything. I'd be selling them Matt Mercer pillows. Butt pillows for the table. There you go. Every cast member has a pillow with their face on it, and you can sit on it at the table if you got hemorrhoids or something. Each class in Daggerheart is formed by combining 2 of these domains. For example, the warrior is Blade and Bone. The druid is Sage and Arcana. The rogue is Midnight and Grace. This is just a repackaged way to get you your class abilities. Again, in the form of a card, you know, which either you're paying for in the front end, or you know, you can pay for extra ones, you know, when they print them, you know, for new ones, you know, later on. Oh God, so we got backgrounds, we got experiences, now we got connections. This represents a relationship and personal history between you and the rest of your party members. Why bother adventuring? Just do it all in character creation, and then just move on to the next one. Here's the sheet. Yeah, I do like the way this is laid out. Yeah, there's a nicely laid out sheet here. There's those class features at the bottom. Yeah, I don't know why more games don't do this. You're just helping people with giving, instead of having them refer to a rule in a book. There's nothing wrong with putting some features down here at the bottom. So yeah, so I got no problem here with the character sheet. This must be the back. It's a rules light game, people. Can you really call your game rules light when you have that on the back, though? Yeesh. Matt Mercer waifu pillows. Nicely done, James. Nicely done. I would sell them everything. Spaceballs the t-shirt. Critical Role the t-shirt. Critical Role the pillow. Critical Role the dice. Critical Role the canned pasta. I'd be I'd be licensing out that name for everything if I was in charge of that business. How could you sully that brand? Chat, ask yourself that. How could you sully that brand? You couldn't. Your fan base are just morons, probably with some money, I would imagine, a little bit. And they will probably buy anything. Merchandising. That's right, John Douglas. Good to see you here. Coming over from Twitter. Follow John on Twitter. He has like one of the best Twitter accounts out there. Yeah, domains are the core themes that make up each class. Combination of two domains form the basis. Here's where I don't understand. Like they said, like the fighter had, whatever it was, warrior, blade and bone. So I guess you're always picking two of these for your character. This is the domain of those who dedicate their lives to mastery of weapons, whether by blade or bow, blah, blah, blah. And then bone. This is the domain of mastery of swiftness and tactical mastery. Well, what is tactical mastery other than mastery with weapons? It's a little tentative there. That's a little fragile, that connection there. I think you're talking about mostly the same thing, are you not? I didn't really study the rest of these in detail. So yeah, and here are the cards, and this is probably what they're going to look like. And like I said, it's not a bad gimmick because they're going to eat it up and they're going to buy it. A lot of people like this kind of bling with their game. You know, even like some normies too, not even just critters, you know. So I can see why they do it. But really all they're doing is they're just giving you stuff that should be in the rule book, right? I mean, these are just when you open up any D&D, Pathfinder, you know, OSR book, whenever there's a character class, and here are your abilities. At this level, you get this. At this level, you get this. So instead of reading it in a book or looking at it on your character sheet, I guess they hit you over the head with it because now it's on a card too. And, you know, I do remember this from 4th edition. You know, their powers were on these little power cards. And, you know, I guess it was handy, but it just, I don't know. To me, it's like, if you're going to call yourself a rules light game, this isn't rules light. I'm not saying it's rules heavy, but it ain't rules light. You know, like I said, they're just your abilities. That's all. Oh, yeah, and here you go. Check this out. Loadout and vault. You can only... They should have, I guess I should have highlighted that only. You can only have a maximum of 5 domain cards active at one time. So you can have 5 of these things, plus more that they're going to create too. If you can't sense that this is where, you know, there's going to be more things coming down the pike. I mean, there are going to be more of these freaking domains coming. But you can have 5 of these? How many are there right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 70, there's like 9 of them. You can have half of these active if you get to higher levels, I presume. At lower levels, you won't have enough cards for this to be an issue, but once you reach level 5 and above, you'll need to choose which domain cards to keep in your loadout and which to store in your vault. Kind of video gamey, sort of. Boy, 5, you might, I guess it sounds, because they said level 5, and 5 is the limit, so you must get one of these domains a level. Yeesh. Get that dopamine hit. A rat with cheese. If you want to switch a card from your vault into your loadout, you can do so immediately by marking stress equal to that card's recall cost. It makes no sense. Right in the middle of combat, I'm going to spend a stress point. Oh, I'm no longer a master of tactics. I'm a master of grace and charisma. It's so odd. This is where the game's sort of breaking down a little bit, I think. It's trying to be too player friendly by allowing you to do stuff like this. You should not be able to switch things out on the fly like this. Fundamental things about your character, things that imply stuff you've done or earned. You should not be able to just willy-nilly give the heave-ho. All right, yeah, so here we get to the classes. We're not going to... Class items. A romance novel or a letter never opened. Why not, you know, like something like Beowulf, an epic like that? Why does it have to be a romance novel? So this is their I guess they also have a class feature. So in addition to all that other stuff with domain and stuff, they also get one class feature or something. And theirs, it's like a rally die. Put a die 6 with the lowest number. And then when anyone in the party rolls with fear, you turn it up. It essentially acts like a counter. And then once it gets to 6, every character who listens to the bard giving his spiel or song or whatever gets a rally dice, which they can add to a roll. Not a bad mechanic. In this system, that's not a bad mechanic. You can kind of see it too. Look, if their spirits are getting down because they're rolling quote unquote with fear, yeah, this makes sense. So I got no problem with that. I do have a problem with the romance novel though. Could be a suggestion, not mandatory. Captain Stern is a bard in our group. He keeps trying to mesmerize everybody with his song abilities. He tried to do that last night with these man-hunting elves, and I'm like, no. Sorry, Captain Stern, no. I did let him try it on the Remoras though, because I thought maybe he could strike a tone or something that would kind of like a snake charmer. But the Remoras actually made its save, so. You got to be careful because, players will feel like they're not able to do anything if you don't allow them to do it. But you can't, I couldn't allow them to do it with these elves. These elves hate humans. These particular ones despise them. Go out for, thrill kills. All right, so here's, I don't know, leveling up options. Druids. So I guess each class has these level up options. So here you go. I mean, we're not going to go through all these, but here's your Guardian. What is a Guardian? Guardians represent an array of martial professions. Oh, okay. So these are like monks? Huh. Well, no, maybe not. Groups of militants. Guardian. I think, what's the difference then between these and warriors or fighters? Fighting with a remarkable. What would ally a guardian? I don't. These are like paladins, I think. Okay, yeah, valor blade. Okay, yeah, these are like paladins, but they're too chicken because paladin has such a religious connotation. I bet that they're too chicken shit to call them that, even though they very well could. So they stick with a generic name that, like I said, I honestly couldn't figure out until I started to think about it. Oh, yeah, it's a paladin. And where's that other one? Because we know all these. We kind of know what most of these are. There's the rogue. This is what Crazy Mouse would be playing if we were doing this system. Crazy Mouse always plays rogues. Hide, sneak attack. Not all. Well, like 9 out of 10 times he'll play a rogue. Sneak attack. Yep. Looks like they have the standard stuff there. Isn't there a seraphim or something like that? Oh, seraph. There we go. Divine fighters and healers appointed by their god. Seraphs are imbued with sacred purpose. A wide array of deities exist within the realms. Ethos members. I guess these are just fighters with wings, I guess. Sorcerers. There's the warrior, fighter. Wizard. Standard stuff. Here we go. Here's those ancestries. The lineage. All right, here we go. Clank. So these are silly, but if I guess if you want to do it, that's fine. Sentient mechanical beings from metal, wood, stone, clay. I guess it's kind of like golems to resemble humanoids and animals or even inanimate objects. But why would you want to play one of these? I don't know. It's just silly. Like that little thing there with the the little barrel creature. Someone shows up with one of those. You got problems. The daemons, these are tieflings. These are tieflings. Dracona. Dragonborn. Here you go. A couple of the standards. Fairies. Actually, oddly enough, I'm fine with fairy. Because fairies actually is some like history. And it might be interesting if you had a competent player playing a fairy. I actually would not have a problem with that, oddly enough. But I'd be keeping a close eye on you. But because these things can be kind of devious too. So that this one doesn't bother me as much as you may have thought. But this one does. Fawn, which is a fucking furry. Goat boy. There you go. There's a child, adult, and elder. Wasn't there a Saturday Night Live skit, Goat Boy or something, back in the day? Gotta catch up with the chat here. Devious fairy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think you could make a fairy work in your party, but you couldn't have a lot of them. I don't think. I think one would be enough. Yep. Oh, Baptism of Fire game starts in 5 minutes. See you all later, and go watch Daggerheart video. Go watch his day. Yeah, that's right. Go watch Pundit's video. I have not seen that yet, Pundit, but I will. I will watch that when I'm done streaming. Yeah, good luck in your game tonight. Thank you for stopping by. Farewell, my friend. Hard arc clanker. Warforged, yeah, I think that's what we're looking at. Yep, seems like you guys are kind of on the same page. It's just silly. But this is something I knew was coming. A Furlbog. Cows in humanoid form. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing? You go into a what do? You walk into a tavern. I'd like a the bar prostitute going to start milking you. Oi, governor. 5 copper for that. That's not my. That's my. But you can drink it. Fungrel, literal mushroom people. Were they eating mushrooms? Those kind of mushrooms when they made all of these. Galapa. More silliness. Although the only saving grace here, and it's a very tenuous one, but there's a turtle race in Twilight Imperium that has been played at my table. So they're silly, but we'll put them at the very top of the silliness rating, or the bottom, how you see it. Almost breaking out, but not quite. Giants, it's fine, but look, if you're traveling with a giant, they can't be a full giant because you just attract too much attention. How do you go dungeon crawling with a giant? Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. The smallest adults are 6.5 feet, but that's the smallest. Okay, largest 8.5 feet. All right. So yeah. All right. So it looks like they thought of that. So I'll give them that. Still, that could be a lot of crypts and tombs. I don't know. 8.5 feet. You think Asarak made his ceilings for 8.5 feet tall dungeon crawlers. I don't know. You need a back brace by the time you get out of there if you survive. You're gonna be hunched over the whole time. Goblins, that's fine. Too cutesy though. Why do we have to make them like this? I blame Paizo for this with the making the mascot type goblin. Oh, they're kind of cutesy. Oh, look. No, they aren't. No, they aren't. Halflings. R.I.P. Morris the Halfling last night in the belly of a remoras on the lonely island of Torova Tiamlatin. I'm surprised they even have humans. They're almost like a throwaway here. Oh, yeah. There's your human breeder. More furries. Qatari. Cat people. I mean, you knew there was going to be that, right? Orc. Boy, they give you orcs and goblins. I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. This is just the frog. I mean, good Lord. Now we're going through Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I mean, look at the one with the fat one there. Yeah. But look, this is the way some people want to play, I guess. I love this. Putting like a monkey or an ape in here. I'm surprised they did that only because the whole thing with the Hadozi. It's I would have thought any big company is just not going to touch any of this stuff. Because someone is, it's going to be some leftist because they're the only ones that make this connection. Here we go. You got to watch. We got to watch literally every piece of art. They probably have to have, I'm not even lying here. They probably have to have 6 people watch every bit of art that they're going to make for the Simia and just make sure that it is kosher. Not even lying there. You can take that to the bank. Find somebody who works there and they will run that by 10 diversity consultants just to make sure they don't step into the Hadozi mess that Wizards of the Coast did. And of course, we got mixed ancestry. So there's to them, I guess, there's no half orc or whatever. You just do it here. Oh, there's your community. Oh, here we go. I wish Pundit was here. Because these are the highborn, lowborn, slyborn, blah, blah. They're really dumb. This is really dumb and really just too detailed. You do not need this thing. But I love being part of the highborn, of course, means you're, in the upper echelon of society. And they had to sneak this in here, didn't they? They had to sneak it in there. Controlling the means of production, you commie fuckers. Of course you had to sneak it in there. The health and safety of less affluent people who live in these locations often hinges on the ability of this highborn ruling class to prioritize the well-being of their subjects over profit. You fucking commies. I hate you. Blah! I'll give you a Anakin Skywalker. Blah! I hate you. Black Dynamite. Thank you, James. No comment. Orderborn. I knew it. I took a guess on this one. I really did, and I'm like, oh, Orderborn. These are like kind of like a paladin code sort of the way I was reading. I'm like, they're going to equate God with like fanaticism, and sure enough, God. While Orderborn communities may take a variety of forms, even some profoundly pacifistic, perhaps the most feared are those that structure themselves around military prowess. So, of course, they want to make that, connection, Religious fanatics, radicalized, Slyborn. Operating outside the law. I hate that name. Slyborn. Reminds me of those old movies. Are you sly? I saw the way you were looking at that man. Are you sly? Underborn. I thought this was just odd, too. Underborn are recognized for their incredible boldness and skill, acknowledging this community as highly capable of feats of architecture and engineering. Why? They may just live in caves. Because being Underborn means that you're from a subterranean society. I mean, you could just be living in the sewers or tunnels that other people built. It doesn't mean you know how to build them necessarily. Maybe you do. It's weird. Wanderborn, Wildborn, this born, that born, upborn, downborn. Some more sketches here. Oh, those are the metal legs. Those are Blade Runner legs. Yeah. Put those on, you have the urge to murder your wife. Oh, here we go. Playing. They didn't want to put this out in the playtest because they knew the heat they'd probably get. But they did put it in here. The wheelchair, the combat wheelchair is coming soon. Also playing blind, deaf, or mute characters. Section in progress. What are you going to say? Blind, you can't see. You better have some other way of seeing, magical or otherwise, which means then that you're not really blind. I mean, I guess you're blind the way Geordie LaForge is. Deaf or mute. Yeah, that'll work. Try playing a mute character at a table. Not going to happen. Oh, now we're in part 2. Yeah, we're getting like the last third of all the stuff I went through. So, but I don't know. Seems like I got 130 here. We have more people here now for this little off the cuff stream. So, a little aside. Go back and look if you haven't seen it. But I interviewed the great Sandy Peterson, the creator of Call of Cthulhu, literally one of the legends of the RPG industry. And I was going to Crazy Mouse. I'm like, I don't know, man. You know, when I got the interview, and I'm like, could we scrape 200? I don't know. It's possible. You know, I'm not going to make any predictions. You know, and I'm like, I was looking at the chat. I'm like, holy smokes, we're barely breaking 100. So I don't know if it was just maybe just a bad night or something. But if you didn't watch the Sandy Peterson interview I did on Wednesday, go back. He's such an interesting guy, full of energy, and I would say fairly based. So Sandy is a pretty good dude, and like I said, he is based, and a very interesting guy too. So yeah, go and watch that if you haven't already. But yeah, like I said, we have just for this little, you know, it just shows kind of what draws people attention. You know, it's stuff like this. They want to see people like your boy savage this game. I wouldn't say I'm savaging it. I think I'm being fair. It's just not very good from what I've seen, you know, with a few minor things that I do kind of like. And I will show you pretty soon how you could do some of this if you wanted to. I'm not sure why with D&D. So we talk about the flow of the game. This is just all very basic, you know. Mechanics help mediate. It's like a conversation. They do say in this game a lot, it's a conversation. It's a conversational game. The DM and the player have a conversation, you know. The players get something done by having a conversation with the DM. The GM, we understand. That's how role-playing games are done. Player and the GM ask questions. GM shouldn't be asking too many questions, only clarification questions. The GM should not be really prompting people too much. All right, so here's your sample. We're not going to go through that. We got a. I'll give it to you too. There we go. Doc Flamingo, $5 channel member. Thank you so much, Doc. I'd like for someone to actually build a combat wheelchair and see these woke twats change their tune. That would be something. Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Everybody who's showed up, all you channel members, who are helping support the channel, super chatters. I do appreciate it. I really do. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. What can I do on my turn? Everyone should... this is one that I think somebody shared on Twitter. I think I retweeted it. It might be taken out of context just a hair, but not much. Everyone should follow the fiction to figure out what happens next, bouncing around the table to whoever it makes sense to spotlight in that moment. Generally, players in the spotlight will have the same chance to describe their move or what their character is doing. Now, it does say if something they describe requires a roll to see if it works, then play pauses while a roll's made. And then certain roll results and other situations can prompt the GM to make a GM move. I think that's kind of de-emphasized. The focus really is on the players just always taking center stage, kind of being theater kids a little bit. And then they always throw in, because they know the mess they'd make. Like, oh, don't be afraid to put somebody else in the spotlight too. Help one of your friends or allies, step up. Well, which is it? I mean, you're usually one or the other, aren't you? You're a main player or you're a bit player. Here we go again. The flexible back and forth conversation between the GM and players. There are no combat rounds to worry about. Yeah, I got to tell you guys, this is something I'm still not sure how it works. We're getting into the kind of the meat where like the combat is. So again, they emphasize for about the fourth time about the duality dice. We get it, but it is their thing, so they want to pound that in. Once more, for reference and for style, rolling 2 die 12. If your hope die rolls higher than the fear one, you roll with hope. So you may succeed or fail with hope. You mark one of the hope slots on your character sheet. I always hate it when they do this. If you marked one of the hope slots on your character sheet and then kept erasing it every time you used it, your character sheet would have one of those holes that we all know. Anybody who's played role-playing games, especially in the old days, I mean, you get that little, that little rip in your character sheet that's shaped like this from erasing too much up and down. We've all had it, right? You'd have one of those on your second session. You'd be erasing these. So no, of course, if you are bound and determined to play this game, leave that blank and just have a little, area where you can put your hope chips. Just get bingo chips, and like I said, they're the currency. So just have literally a bowl in the middle. Like at our table, Crazy Mouse likes to do that stuff, so he hands out all that stuff. But yeah, you can just have it as a communal pot too. Yeah, mark it on the character sheet. Okay, wink, wink. And then, of course, there's the fear dice, too. I'm not going to belabor that. Yeah, somebody put the hit point section. I'm up it. Yeah, that'd be the first to go. I would always, if it ever needed to be emphasized, I would tell my players at a certain point, guys, please don't do that to your characters. Just get a Post-it note and just have in your hit point area your maximum hit points, and then obviously just a Post-it note for your current up and down hit points. Let's see. Now, critical successes here. I guess this is kind of important if you're going to understand this system. So when you make these duality rolls with the 2 die 12s, with the hope and the fear die, if both dice roll the same number, you automatically roll a critical success, even if you would have otherwise failed, because the total is let me read that again. If both dice... Whenever you make a duality roll, if both dice roll the same way, you automatically roll a critical success, even if you would have otherwise failed. Okay. So I guess you could roll double ones, right? So you could roll double ones and still have a critical success. Now they need to do this from a probability point of view, but it is tilted towards the players because potentially you have 12 chances for a critical here. I'm not sure what the probability is on a die 12. So let me explain something to you guys. And remember, using this hope, remember, you use it to power up things. So you can use it to help an ally, maybe give them a bonus. Utilize one of those experiences. When you said like, hey, I'm an assassin and I'm a badass, +1, +2. And hey, I'm going to use both of them because I'm a dick. Well, you would use this is what you would use your hope for. And then there must be other features, maybe in your domain or something like that. Okay, so let's pause here. Let's pause a moment because I'm gonna deliver on something. All right, so let's say you're bound and determined to implement something like this in D&D or any OSR game. Could you do it? Yes, it would be a little wonky. So here's what you would do. You'd have to take a black die 10. That would be, I guess, your fear die or whatever color, and a white for representing your hope die 10. So you're rolling 2 die 10, which gives you a score of 2 to 20. Now, we all know on a die 20, if there's a 5% chance of you rolling a 1, a critical failure, a 5% chance of you rolling a 20, a critical success. On both ends, there's a 5% chance all the way through on a die 20. When you roll 2 die 10 together and add them together, not the case. Like your chances of rolling 2 1s, which I guess would be a quote unquote a critical failure, or 2 10s, a critical success, is only 1%. That's why they have to do the doubles. So if you wanted to implement a system like this, you could. What you would have to do is say, because to get up to the 5%, you'd have to say, okay, I'm going to roll 2 die 10 and add them together. However, if I roll a double 6, a double 7, a double 8, a double 9, a double 10, that is a critical hit or a critical success. If I roll a double 1, double 2, double 3, double 4, double 5, that is a critical failure. There you go. That kind of it's not perfect, but it would get you pretty darn close to the probabilities. Certainly be odd, I'm not sure why anybody would want to emulate this, but if let's say you're like I see potential here, even if it's not hope or something else, it's to maybe generate some form of currency. You could do it. You certainly could. You'd really have to stick to those probabilities, though. I dislike die systems that draw attention to themselves. Yeah, there's something to that. Mechanics should be as invisible as possible during play. Yeah, and you know what? It's for a game that calls itself like rules light. It really does. It really is a navel gazing game, isn't it? From what I'm seeing, it's a lot of like jotting down of stuff. Like, oh, I got it. We haven't even gotten to the way they do hits in this game. All right, so we talked about using hope, all that, using fear. I think essentially the DM uses fear to activate opponents, and give complications, whatever those are. Powering adversary and environmental moves. There you go. So, okay. So here's what happens. Each class has a certain damage threshold. So this is combat we're talking here, indicating how much damage you can endure before marking a hit point. The dark bars in the hit points and stress section of your character sheet show the 3 tiers of damage you can take: severe, major, and minor. So this is, you would roll damage, 2 hit and damage, more or less, the way you do it in D&D or any OSR game, other than you're using 2 die 12, so the math is probably skewed upwards, but still. And then you're rolling damage, I think very much, similar. Each weapon has a traditional damage type. But what you do is you don't apply that. You do this 2-step process. And this is where I'm like, is this really a rules light game? Because you're essentially consulting a chart every time you are rolling something. And I know after a while you'll probably memorize this if you're playing, but still, you're consulting a chart. Now, some people might like this little bit of crunch, and maybe it does have some merits to it. But again, I don't know if you can call yourself rules light when it's a 2-step process to figure out how damaged you are. Well, that damage did 12 points of damage to me. Maybe you soak up some of that with the armor, okay, or whatever. All right, so maybe you don't have armor on, so it mark 2 hit points off. So I took 12 points of damage, but I'm actually only taking 2 hit points. It's okay. And some people may like it, some people may not. I'm not saying it's necessarily good or bad. I'm just saying there is an extra layer of complexity there. And I'm not sure these critters are smart enough to intuitively grasp this stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of like, well, I don't understand. Oh, well. So yeah, so they kind of reiterate that here. Clearing hit points, and you take downtime. You have the opportunity to clear some of your hit points. Can you guess how you clear hit point damage in this game? There's also stress damage. If you recall back, that would be kind of like the vitality damage. I think what happens is anytime you take damage, like minor damage, you don't go right to the hit points. You go to stress instead. And then there's stuff that happens when you're stressed out. Like you have to activate your line and veil when you're stressed. All right, so a lot of the rest of the game, I think it runs, if you are making rolls, I think it runs a lot like we would guess, any modern RPG after 3rd edition. GM sets a difficulty number, a target number. You roll the 2 die 12 plus modifiers. Bada bing, bada boom. They also have advantage, disadvantage, which here is just a die 6 that you add. I love this. Counting character tokens. I think I might have mentioned this earlier, but this is for your modifiers. Tokens are never rolled for a random value. They are simply +1 counters you add to your hand to aid in counting your results. Ay, ay, ay. This is what happens when your public education system is deteriorating before your very eyes. And trust me, my wife is a teacher, and she will cop to that. She has kids in 5th grade who cannot do simple math. You guys simply do not understand how bad COVID was to school kids. If I may make a quick aside, there's a group of kids, who are in maybe 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, during that time. They are lost and probably most of them can't be saved. So quick aside there. Sorry. But it's true. My wife is, me and her think along the same lines politically, but she's not quite as right leaning as me, but she will just say yeah, these kids, unfortunately, a lot of them just can't do it and won't be able to. Yeah. So they're telling you to get these tokens. For example, if you have a -1 to agility and a +2 from experience, you have a +1 modifier to the roll. So set aside 1 token to represent that. So they're saying that you can't remember that you have a +1 modifier to a roll. You need a token to remind you of that. As I say here, look at this comedian. Are we in kindergarten? Yuck, yuck, yuck. You might think so. It's like I said, we talked about criticals, how you get them. You roll doubles. In this game, it's all doubles, though. That's what I'm having a hard time around, because that's got to skew the math towards the player, right? I know you're doing a die 12, So the probabilities are a little less for you rolling each number, but still, you do now have 12 instances, so it's got to be a little bit higher. Anyway, skip a bit, brother. There we go, attack rolls. When you make an attack roll with the intent to do harm to an enemy, you're making an attack roll. Reference the weapon or spell you're using for the attack to determine what trait to use. Yeah, so it'll say like sword, a long sword, but then it'll have next to it like strength. So you're using, essentially it's a attribute check. They don't seem to have skills in this game from what I can glean. So it's just a simple, trait. So you're making a strength or dexterity usually for attacks. And then there's magic attacks too. Obviously, if you roll over your target's evasion number, which would be their armor class, you make your damage roll. Like I said, there's spellcast rolls here. Not going to get into magic here. I didn't scour those rules. Yeah. So here we are, calculating damage. You can tell I was getting a little tired here. Didn't really highlight this because this is all just pretty standard. I'm not sure why it takes a. Here's one thing I noticed. You see the little wow there? It's like that. Remember in the 70s when that SETI satellite was looking up and that radio telescope thought they got what they thought was like an alien signal, and somebody wrote "wow" in the margins. I guess I was channeling that. Critical successes and damage. If your critical roll is a critical success, roll damage as usual, then add extra damage dice. Add extra damage equal to the maximum potential value of all your damage dice added together, as if they all rolled the highest number possible. So if you can read from the example here, this chick rolls with her bow 2d8, and it's a critical success. The hit was a critical, so they rolled a 4 and an 8 for their damage. So they're already getting 12, but because it's a critical, they automatically do 16 damage because they use die 8s for their normal damage dice, 2d8. They get to add 16, which brings the total damage to 28. Woo! So that could really unbalance things. Now, if can the DM do that? That's what I want to know. Is the DM allowed to do that on their, with their adversaries? Because that could mess up. That could mess up someone. Reaction rolls. These are just saves. Same way as action rolls with hope still gives you hope. Rolls with fear still give you GM fear. However, reaction rolls, here, this is what I want to emphasize here. Reaction rolls generally work the same as action rolls, and rolls with hope still give you hope, and rolls with fear still give the GM fear. However, reaction rolls don't generate additional GM moves nor contribute to the action tracker if it is in play. See flow of combat. So the GM is supposed to keep track of this. Oh, I generated a fear point, but it can't contribute to this and this. This is insanity. You have so much bookkeeping to do, so much I would call it piddly bookkeeping in this game already. Does it not appear like that? Go back to you guys for a little bit here. What do you guys think? Is there like, am I misreading this, or is there like just a lot of like, piddly, nitty gritty like detailing that the GM would have to keep track of? Yep. Yeah, exactly. Getting heavier and heavier. Yeah. If you're advertising rules light, this ain't rules light. Now look, it ain't like a Palladium game or anything like that. But still, it's not. Yeah, I don't think you can call this rules light. I've played rules light systems. This isn't a rules light system. Nope. No way. All right. Evasion score, that's your AC. Getting kind of close here, I think. Yeah. So we're talking about advantage and disadvantage, which should be pretty easy. You know, you're just adding a die. If you have advantage, the DM says, hey, you got advantage on this roll. Add a die 6 to your 2 die 12 roll. This die 6 you roll should be a special color, so it's not confused with any die 6s you roll for other effects. This allows you to easily spot your disadvantage die 6 and subtract it from the roll. Yep, hand-holding the critters, they know their market. They know their... They know these people don't really play games very much. I don't know. Gold. I kind of skipped all this. Oh, here we go, guys. Guess what's back? And badder than ever, we got short rests and long rests. Short rests, you get to heal some of your wounds. This is even more egregious. Long rests. A long rest is when player characters are able to make camp, relax for a few hours, and get some sleep. Each player may swap any domain cards in their loadout for any in their vault. Okay. Well, that's all right. So what is sleep? What is relaxing? Is this like, we're going to relax for 2 hours and then I only need about, an hour or two of sleep and I'm good. Right. I'm like any of those, those go-getters in the real world, I don't know, like Richard Branson or, Donald Trump or that, those guys only sleep for like 2 hours a night or whatever. Vince McMahon, you could just say like, oh, I'm like that, look, 4 hours, I'm refreshed. Huh? So you're taking 4 hours and you're getting everything back. Describe how you patch yourself up and remove all marked hit points. You may also do this on an ally instead. Describe how you blow off steam and pull yourself together and clear all marked stress. Boy, that is going to be... If I'm looking for weak points, if Spencer Stark is is asking Double D, first I'd say redesign this, probably from the ground up. But still, you got to make this a little bit more. Even D&D is like, no, it's at least got to be 8 hours. Give them credit at least. They have to. At least D&D said it can't be completely abused. And here we go. Death. Facing death is an important part. Having a character die can be an exciting end to a story or an opportunity for the player to transition into something new. What if they just get shivved in a bar? What if they pick a fight with the wrong guy in a bar? Oh, you're why are you picking on Mongo? Oh my God, Mongo's a killer. Oh my God, look out. And all of a sudden your head is splashed all over the room. In Daggerheart, when you mark your last hit points, you must make a death move. Oh, what is a death move? You choose. Embrace death. Take one action, which becomes an automatic critical success. Then cross through the veil. And then at the bottom, risk it all. Roll your duality. If hope is higher, you stay on your feet and clear an amount of hit points equal to the value of the hope die. If your fear is higher, you cross through the veil. So it's essentially, I think, maybe like a 50-50 probably. If the duality dice are tied, you stay on your feet and clear all hit points and stress. Or the middle one, the I don't want to die choice, avoid death and face the consequences. You drop unconscious temporarily and work with the GM to describe how the situation gets much worse because of it. Worse than death? Then roll your fear die. If its value is equal to or under your stress level, you take a scar. You may not take any actions while unconscious. So yeah, you get scarred up, but you don't get to die if you don't want to. Excuse me, DM. I don't die. I'm just going to scar myself, Sorry. I'm too beautiful to die. Flow of combat. All right. I think this is towards the end of where I got. So if you're hanging in here, it seems like most of you are hanging in strong. We'll be done here pretty soon. Combat in Daggerheart has no initiatives, no rounds, no distinct number of actions you can take on your turn. Instead, any fights that happen play out narratively, moment to moment, just like any other character action might. This provides the player opportunities to team up together in their tactics and respond appropriately to narrative changes and not be locked into only doing violence once the first strike happens. Enemies don't have a set order in which they act. Instead, the GM makes moves in accordance with the fiction. The GM moves in accordance with the fiction, not in laws or, tactics or, what the players are doing or putting yourself in the head of this enemy. It's just what makes good fiction. Okay. And then, all right, so they've been teasing this, all the action tracker. I still don't understand this thing. Whenever there's combat in a scenario that's likely to last more than a roll or two, the GM should place the action tracker card on the table within everyone's reach. Whenever PCs make an action roll, they must place a character token on the action tracker. While on the tracker, these are known as action tokens. Important to note that tokens are not limited. If a player ever runs out, they should just grab more. Why not? The players aren't the only ones who can use the action tracker, however. I like how he puts an exclamation point there. Your opponents can actually fight back. Oddly enough, the GM spends action tokens to activate adversaries. When the action tracker is on the table, it's important to remember that players may still act in any order they'd like and take action multiple times in a row as the narrative flow demands it. So I don't care if you're putting tokens on boards or whatever. If you can just say, I'm firing 15 arrows in a row. And I think the narrative flow would allow it because I'm a badass. And the DM just shrugs his shoulders and says in a defeated tone, okay. The game should continue as normal. The GM has an additional tool at their disposal, oh my lord, to help guide the combat encounter. However, players are encouraged to give players are encouraged. It's not part of the rules, but players are encouraged to give others turns with the spotlight. If another player hasn't placed any tokens on the action tracker recently, what does recently mean? Consider letting them act. I'll let you get involved in the combat this time, Luther. There's no system. It's like a free-for-all, isn't it? When the GM makes a move, they may choose to spend any number of tokens currently on the action tracker. But this really needs cleaned up. This was not written well at all. Maybe there's more structure here than I'm seeing, but it sure just sounds like a free-for-all. When combat has come to a close or the GM determines the action tracker is no longer necessary for play, here's another example of this. Any remaining tokens on the action tracker become fear for the GM at a 2-to-1 ratio. Every 2 action tokens left on the tracker gives the GM 1 fear. This fear mechanic is going to drive DMs batty in this game. Again, oddly crunchy for a rules light game, and it all comes down to this fear thing. You are like an accountant. Trust me, I am an accountant. You are doing nothing but being a bookkeeper for this fear mechanic. It's a real weak point to the game, in addition to all the other stuff, that I, don't like, and a few things that I think are okay. There's just so much bookkeeping on this. You guys really have to streamline this if you're listening. It's so stupid. I can tell a mile away. I have DM'd games for a very long time, and a lot of different games too. You factor in all these one-shots I do. This is something I would try to house rule or figure out a way around this fear mechanic. I would try to do something. Because I would not remember after a heated battle where you have a good combat, everybody feels great. I'm sorry, I swept the board. How many were on there? 6. Okay, that's 6 fear. And then 15 minutes later, as you're describing another scene, oh wait a minute, those tokens that I swept off, I shouldn't have 6 fear. It was a 2-to-1 ratio, or is it a 1-to-2 ratio? Oh, I can't remember. Hold on, guys, let me look up. Let me look up in my generally accepted accounting principles book. Oh, I mean the rule book for Daggerheart. Is there? Do we calculate interest on these too? Jeez. The action tracker allows the entire table to keep track of the portion of combat the group has focused on. Then center other areas of the conflict and catch-up time. In this way, it helps the GM and the table as a whole have an idea of who has acted and who might need an opportunity to be showcased. This should simulate conflict. I don't know what this is. I don't know what they're trying to do here. It seems like when you're building when you're allowing for in your rules for the fact that other people at the table may be, if I may borrow a term here, marginalized in a sense that makes sense by attention hogs, maybe you need better rules. Okay? Maybe you need a little more structure saying, look, there may be no initiative, but everybody gets one chance to act before X happens. Player best practices, the HR department. These people put the term best practices in a playtest. I wonder if it'll make it into the final rule book. I think that's it, guys, because I didn't get as far as leveling up. I don't care about that. Maybe I'll go through some of the rest of this. I guess I'd have to go through the magic. I don't even know if that's worth it. But I think I've given you a pretty good sense. Oh, here are those weapons, so you can kind of tell. Yeah, so like like the melee weapons, done by strength. Longsword is agility. Wow. Saber I can see. Short sword I can see. Oh, they even have longsword as an agility weapon. A 2-handed agility weapon. Guys, chat, does that make sense? They have the longsword as an agility weapon, but it's 2-handed. It just doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, I guess for the short bow I can see, because they do have to make a distinction between that and a long bow, but man, I don't know. Okay. Ghost blade. Magic weapons. Ooh, a lot of weapons in this, huh? Secondary weapons. Knuckle. Boy, they didn't skimp on the weapons, that's for sure. Here's the armor, by the way. So the base score, I think, is equal to the soak. So you would subtract this from the base damage. Like, hey, I roll, the DM rolled a critical, assuming they're allowed to. I'm not even sure of that. 20 points of damage. Oh, wait, you're in full plate armor. It's actually 11 points. And then you would apply that to the, severe, major, minor. And then after that, you would apply it to your hit point total. And then there's probably hope and fear in there. Yep. Welcome to your rules light game, people. Yeah, this is not rules light. This is rules medium, I would say. Low medium, but it's still rules medium. Just because it doesn't have structure to it doesn't mean that it's rules light. You not having structure is causing some of the complexity, actually, oddly enough. Bag of fickle sand. What is this? Someone can be convinced to be much heavier or lighter than it should be. You also blow sand in the face of an adversary with a finesse roll. What is fickle sand? Flicker fly. Huh. Infinite bag. And I got the bag of holding. All right. I've seen enough. As the great Roberto Duran said, no mas, no mas. Still see what you guys are saying. Matt Mercer's Dungeon Toys. I'd rather not know. I talk to the sand. The group leaves me in the sandbox and calls me slur. You guys are great. Yep. Gold card depends. Does wearing the skin of my enemies count as leather armor? Yeah, I'd allow it. Yep. Thank you, number one of consequence. Definitely not rules light. No, you can't say that with a straight face. There's gonna be some disappointed critters. I mean, they'll be happy. I don't know why this does this. Even though I'm gonna stop in a few minutes, just for spite. This Roku stream. There we go. Take that. Can't stay on for 2 hours straight. Give me a break. Is agility because they're threatened by masculinity strength, so decentivizing it. Maybe a little. It's kind of odd because they did have the traditional ones, like battle axe, and that was all strength based. And then just the longsword is still a two-handed weapon. I mean, pick up a longsword. It's not a finesse weapon, I don't think. I mean, it is in the hands of like a quote unquote, toxic male. Yeah, strength is, yeah, exactly. In the hands of a toxic male, someone like quote Conan, or it's an agility weapon. You could do that if you. It's already has some degrees of complexity. You could say that if your strength is above a certain level, it counts as a strength weapon or an agility weapon because you can handle it like an agility weapon. But if your strength is lower, it's a strength weapon. I don't know. Just spitballing here. Why am I doing their work for them? Why am I doing their work for them? Just going through your most recent comments here, seeing if I it's a good one, Ryan. Yeah. Make an amortization schedule for not so much the hit points. That's two-step math, which is never to me a good thing to have in a game. Chart consultation, and then doing something else. But that freaking fear mechanic is going to DMs are going to be pulling their hair out with it. You have to keep track of so many, and it's in and out, and then it's 2 for 1, or is it 1 for 2? Do they get it here? Oh wait, I can't use it for these things because there was that one section where it's like the DM can't use this fear, this fear point for this, but can for others. Nope. No, I'd be searching for a way out. Jeff from Denkar, Canadian, $5. Every time you review a system like this, perhaps do a review of a better system as a palate cleanser. That's not a bad idea. One of these days, I told Greg I'd do a flip through of Dragon Slayer for him. Maybe we'll do that in just kind of a relaxed stream. Because I did get my book. It is such a beautiful book. I know it's $80. I know that's out of some people's price range, but where the money went in that book. The art in there is inspiring and beautiful. And it's a bunch of old TSR artists too, like Darlene. I think it's Jeff D. who did the cover. Maybe a palate cleanser. Yeah. Yep. Well, guys, for just a spur of the moment stream, I'm very happy the way this went. But I think you should always leave them wanting more. So, tell you what, I'm going to let you guys go. I don't know if there's other streams going on. I'm not sure if T-Shirted has one fired up. I think he's used to do Saturday streams. I don't know if he still does. Like I said, I've just been so busy with work. Your boy is really busy. So if I'm ignoring you or I said I'd do something, I apologize. But between my 9-to-5 job, this channel, trying to get ready for at least one live stream a week, if not two, videos, which I do still have to maintain if I want the channel to grow. Running a D&D or a now Castles and Crusades campaign, and then trying to work on the one that I'm trying to write, which I'm making slow and steady progress. I am so busy, guys. So sometimes I'll just throw a stream on when I'm doing something, but holy smokes, your boy is busy. It's tax season. Yep. All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for coming out. What a great stream it was. Hope you got some enjoyment out of it. Hope you got some knowledge out of it. Yeah, I wouldn't touch this game yet because it's doesn't seem like it's very good. But it has a couple of things in there that are okay. The hope fear thing I don't think works the way that it's constructed, but it's not a bad thought. Maybe there's a better implementation of it. And I guess remember what I said about, I guess you could do it in, D&D or OSR using die 10s. You would just need to count the doubles 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 as critical hits, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as critical failures. But if you wanted to, I'm not sure why you'd want to. But anyway, sometimes your boy does some experimentation. Sometimes it ends up like Frankenstein. Sometimes it ends up beautiful. So, all right. Love you guys. Peace and tranquility to all of you. Hope you are of the body. I'll see you guys Wednesday. I'm going to try to work on a video. I don't know if I'll be able to get it out before Wednesday, but I do have to get one out. So, you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of the day. If you're in the U.S. or anywhere celebrating St. Patrick's Day today, because it's Saturday, it's the way it is around here. Everybody goes out tonight. Do drive careful. Don't drink and drive. And peace. We'll talk soon. Goodbye.
Hey man, is that Double D? Yeah man, well turn it up man.
Let's just go in and kill all the orcs, right? They're the bad guys, who gives a shit? We just hack and slash and we loot their dead bodies, right? Hack and slash, kill them all, conquer the infidels.
Boy, that campaign sounds like a barrel of fun, doesn't it?
Somebody who's opening a refrigerator and leaning in, right, is the language of a woman. Somebody who's opening the refrigerator and being cut off halfway through that lean is the voice of a mermaid or a siren, right?
This is not the face of the hobby anymore. And I think there's been mistakes made in years past where people assumed that D&D players were all, white dudes in a basement, which has been a faulty assumption for a lot of years and gets more and more false every day. And so it's, in my viewpoint, honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough.
I just had to be born with empathy and a weakness for socialism and femboys.
You gotta put a little hot sauce on the taco, you know what I mean?
We want this dwarf to be the dwarfiest dwarf.
Right.
We want the elf to be the elfiest elf.
And just the dashiest dash of Tabasco.
Their voices need to carry across water.
I'm a creative. It's a huge drain, right? Because fans can be awful.
Al zurdo de mierda no le podés dar ni un milímetro.
Pero ¿me podés definir zurdo de mierda? Que no
todos
lo
los que, digamos, los colectivistas, los que ponen, digamos, o sea, esa idea... A ver,
¿Por qué le pones de mierda, digamos?
Porque son una mierda.
You say white lives matter, they don't. White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing.
I disagree, Gary.
Lutherville, Marina Del Ex, Otisburg, Otisbury? Who's this monster? She's got her own place. Otisbury? It's a little bitty place. Otisbury? Okay, I just wipe it off. That's all. It's a little town. Yep.
We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
5, 4, 3. Great! Great sandwich!
Thank you. I enjoyed having you here. You're a very good co-host.
Man, your sinewy muscles are just ripped. And look how your gleaming sweat just comes off your golden body, and the women are just looking the same, and all of them want
Double D.
In real life, it's dangerous to turn your back on someone who's trying to kill you. Note to self, combat does not have to be limited to a single chamber. D&D is a pretty complicated game. I mean, it requires textbooks to play.
2 weeks.
Excuse me?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Things are getting hotter. It's not just graffiti. The rebels took